Hi everyone, welcome back to the Crossroads. John here. Now last week we had a look at the fantastic Amp 1 by Bluguitar, and I'm very pleased this week to have Thomas Blug, who designed the Amp 1, here with us. And if you're not familiar with Thomas, he's a great guitar player and teacher. He's played with Jennifer Batten and Tommy Emmanuel, loads of other great players. So hello Thomas, nice to see you all the way from Germany.
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me, John.
No, it's great to have you, and fantastic playing. We did a bit of playing in last week's video, by the way. You can see that up here for the beginning. And what we did was we both got a tone with the Amp 1 and we played. And you did some lovely stuff there at Thomas. What were you thinking tone-wise there?
Well, I think my stuff is mainly vintage. So I use the vintage channel. And I use the Amp 1 on the low gain mode, since blues is not requiring that much gain. No? So,
Yeah.
and then, well, I use my 61 Strat, of course, which is my main guitar. And I'm using the volume control quite a lot. So I'm not all the way up. When I started the first phrase, I'm kind of on 3 or 5 maximum. And then I have my little pinky here and always. So that's basically what I'm doing here. The settings on the amp are fairly simple. It's actually the gain on 10, but mind that this is kind of my gain control now. And bass is in the middle. Treble is a bit up this time, which is unusual for me. It's kind of 7.5. Treble is in the middle, and I'm using my blue box with that Fender Tweed Deluxe from 1957. That speaker is in my blue box, and that's what I'm using for the recording. So it makes my sound a little bit more Fenderish, Fendery.
Yeah, that's a lovely tone for the blues that you've got there.
I'm more a rock player myself, but of course I like the blues because the blues is the roots for any kind of, rock orientated music. If there wasn't any blues, there wouldn't be any rock. And so for me, it's good to have both ends. And yeah, I have to tame myself with Fender amps and that tone to bring myself a bit more into the blues zone, because 80% of what I'm doing is rock and pop music, and the puristic blues I love to listen to, but I never had a band to do it. It's like I've always been busy doing a lot of pop music, because this is what people book me for as a session player or a hired gun, touring. They needed somebody that does the modern stuff. But from my heart, I'm very much in love with B.B. King, all the Kings, Freddie King, Albert King, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Eric Clapton. And even like bands like Led Zeppelin, they have great blues, influences, and even a blues in their, set list.
I know we've talked about the Amp 1 a bit last week, but perhaps if you don't mind just taking us through it in your own words, that would be really, really great.
I have all these beautiful tube amps here, and they set I think they have been proven to be the best amps that I could get for my session work. When I was doing session work, people hired me to play on their records, and of course you want the best, and that's my collection here. I bought all these vintage amps 30 years ago when they were still affordable, and when these were the best sounding amps available. So when I did a job being a hired musician in the studio, I brought in all the best guitars, the best amps, and a few pedals. And that's the reference. So I know how the stuff sounds, And when when I founded my own company, Bluguitar, I thought, you know, for my reality of playing small clubs and not doing the big stages anymore, which I have been doing as a pop hired gun around 2000. I was even in a band that opened up for Michael Jackson, so we played in front of 120,000 people, you know, like. But it's what, you know, one of those, you know, funky kind of things and more modern music, which is all good, you know, groovy, funky, and of course a few guitar solos here and there. But I came to the conclusion to quit that industry because I had reached a point that you can't even get further, and I wanted to do my own music. So, you know, I have recorded 5 solo albums and instrumental music and music from the heart that I wanted to do. And when I did my own stuff, then there was no backliner anymore. There was no touring with big stadiums anymore. So I kind of went back for little clubs, which is fine. And then, of course, I had to lug around the gear myself. And I thought, as an amp designer, these big boys here behind me, it's not so much fun to carry around. And they are probably also too loud on a club stage, you know? So my idea was just to go as small and compact as possible, and not sacrificing any of the tone, which is a bit weird when you look at a small amp like that, which is like 1.2 kilograms only, and that is all. This is all it takes to get there. People didn't believe at the beginning, but now I have very famous users, and they have. Well, they play my amp because they like it, and they could have other choices as well. So something must be right.
The thing I like about it is, like I say, the flexibility, the size. You can use it with headphones, can't you? It's got 4 channels, noise gate.
Yeah.
You know, it's really great for everything.
For me, the main thing is, if you play one sound and you're happy, good enough. If you need more sounds, they are still there. So I can go for my whatever clean, you know, like boost, without boost, a little bit hot, you know, can I thing, or go for my vintage channel. I can boost that channel again to have like, or I can go for classic, you know, Gary Moore style on that classic channel. Modern, you know, for like really high gain Gary Moore's again.
Yeah, that's just a great tone, isn't it? That's really a soaring lead tone, that.
Yeah.
So talking of tones, I thought what we could perhaps do today, if you don't mind, is dial up some tones, and maybe classic blues tones, since we're talking about the Amp 1 for blues. So maybe we'll start with the clean channel, and I'll throw a few tones at you, and maybe you could recreate them if you feel.
Let's see.
Okay.
Well, a good. What can we start with? A good clean tone. I don't know. Maybe a B.B. King style clean tone.
Okay, let's grab a different guitar for that. B.B. King is 335. Okay. And then I'm going to my clean channel. So.
So that was a clean channel. Any boost on that?
Yeah, it is the clean channel like cranked, and the boost on top of that, just to be at the edge of breakup and to be thick. This is how I would remember BB.
Actually, since we're on that sound, and we're teaching some blues on this channel, is there any little BB King lick you could show us?
The way I think about BB King is play simple, play like pentatonic, and vibrato. Okay, what is a BB King lick? Okay. Yeah, and then maybe sometimes he does this minor bend. But it's more in his vibrato. I think that's a...
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, he used to, mix major and minor pentatonic, and which you're doing now, which is great, isn't it? That sounds really effective.
That's one thing that you can hear when somebody's playing the blues, a majors, like a dominant blues. The beginners, they only play that scale. They don't mix major and minor. And I mean, the good thing about a major pentatonic scale is like... You have to be careful with the major thirds, so that's the thing that tells me the guys got ears. They play the right third at the right place. Yeah,
it's very interesting, the blues, isn't it? Because when you kind of learn, and you learn the scales, the minor pentatonic maybe first, and then you play that and you listen to your heroes, and you think, I'm missing something here, there's something else going on. And it's, generally speaking, the good players like yourself and all the other greats like BB King, they're always mixing everything together, thirds, sixes, major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, playing over the changes, and it sounds very rich. But when you're just playing that pentatonic scale, it can sound a bit out, can't it, when we start?
Other tones, other guitars?
A Boulder's Love tone, maybe, kind of on that edge of breakup, kind of double stop idea.
Of course. Let's grab that one, because it looks Jimi Hendrix. So that's one option, not changing the amp at all, but...
You're just adjusting your volume, are you there?
Yeah. Okay, let's switch to a Marshall cabinet here. Okay, same. I didn't change the amp, so you just have a different cabinet. What was this? Wind Cries Mary. But you wanted Access Baudelaire. Let me give you a tone that I think Jimi would have used. He is more like a vintage channel guy, and then
Wow.
You know,
Great.
and for Jimi, he would use the fuzz on top of that tone. This is like a cranked Marshall, you know, it's my vintage channel, and with like a Marshall cabinet speaker sound for my blue box. So that's, you know, Jimi's Marshall rig. And then, of course, he would use a fuzz face or something like this. Somewhere I have a fuzz face. And into that cranked Marshall, and then he goes, you know, that's really...
Yeah, that sounds really great, that tone. That's a great tone, isn't it? Okay, so, all right. You did that one easily. How about, well, I suppose we should do Stevie Ray Vaughan, maybe.
I mean, to be totally authentic, I would need a tube screamer, but let's try to get the tone without a tube screamer, just with the amp 1. I use the boost because the boost reduces a little bit of that low end, which is that twang. So let's get the gain. Wow, wait a minute. What's that? Let me get the cabinet of a Fender. What is it? The Fender Super Reverb. Maybe less treble, or maybe Stevie has an aggressive sound sometimes. Okay, that sounds better now. Just to give you the settings here, that's the vintage channel. The gain is only on 4, not too much gain, but I use the boost for that extra tube screamer. It's not 100% there because it's not a tube screamer, but it's something halfway. And the EQ setting is I use a lot of mids now and reduce the treble a little bit. So the treble is at 3 and the mids is at like 7 or 9. So kind of boosted mids.
That sounds great. It sounds spot on to me. Great, really good. And maybe last one. What can we do? How about a kind of a Joe Bonamassa lead tone?
Okay. A Joe Bonamassa. I'm not the biggest expert.
He's got a lot of different sounds, doesn't he? But something like kind of an Eric Johnson type tone.
I mean, he's playing the Marshall Silver Jubilees. No, this kind of sound. Joe Bonamassa has so many different amps, Dumbles and Fenders and whatnot. So this would kind of be in the direction of the Silver Jubilees, you know, like a. And this is the modern channel actually, which is a. modern and a little boost. Yeah.
Thanks for that. That was great. That's a fantastic amp, isn't it? You can go from all nice cleans to the, you know, that tone, which is amazing.
And of course you can combine it with any pedals. I mean, it is a pedal format amp, so it does fit on your pedal board. If you already have a pedal board, you just can put that next to your pedals and you make your toy pedal board. You know, like, there's so many options. You can go straight with the amp, you can combine it with pedals, you can do switching, or you just have it puristic. I have some users for all kinds of setups, you know. It's some people go puristic, other people even incorporate in their MIDI system, you know, combine it with multi-effects units, so anything possible.
Thomas, thanks so much for coming on and playing, fantastic playing, and great tones from the amp 1. Really enjoyed playing through it. You know, it's been great, and especially through the headphones late at night and recording, and you know, playing through the your you know, cab has been great too.
Big pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, I just want to say a big thanks to Thomas once again for coming on. Thomas was really generous with his time to talk about the Amp 1, getting some good tones. Also, I managed to get Thomas to record some blues licks for us, which I've tabbed out, and that'll be the next video I put up. So we've got some cool licks from Jimi Hendrix, B.B. King, Stevie Ray Vaughan. So stay tuned for that one. Thanks so much for watching. As I say, I'll put all the links to Thomas's website below if you're interested in the Amp 1 and just Thomas in general. Have a look at the video of him playing with Tommy Emmanuel. Really fantastic stuff. Anyway, thanks again, and nice to see you at the Crossroads. See you next week.